What is up, guys?
There it is.
Hey, what's up, guys? Today we're excited to have Ben with us. This is Eddie.
This here is Corey with Casual EDC, and Ben, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it, guys. I'm stoked.
Yeah, it's man, we have been talking about this for a couple of months now, huh? And yeah, I think we no longer because we didn't have our babies yet, right?
Yeah, April. I had baby number 4, and I think you were around the same time, right, Eddie?
End of March for mine.
End of March. So.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Well, congratulations to you, Ben. I didn't know about the new baby, so congratulations.
Thank you so much. It's been crazy. Like since mid-March, it's just been like this whirlwind of baby and quarantine and COVID and knife launches. Yeah, it's been crazy. It's good though.
Yeah,
Awesome.
it's interesting because I only have one, and I'm exhausted all the time. So I have no idea how you do it.
You see my eyes, like these like circles around my eyes that don't go away? That's me.
I still got a little bit of time before then. At least I would think so. And but you both seem to really enjoy it, so I'm looking forward to it one day.
It's awesome. Nothing better. Nothing better.
But we're here to talk knives, right? So that's what we're gonna do. So Ben, we have prepared series of questions for you. Hope that's all right. We wanted to kick it off by obviously wondering about your design, and I wanted to know. Well, it'd be interesting for me to know how was the process between you and We. I mean, We it's a company that works with, they have worked with a lot of designers already, so they have that experience. Was it an easy process for you guys? Was it hard to put together? How smooth really was that?
Yeah, good question. So my first knife design, I have one in my pocket here, is called the Banter. And if you haven't seen it, it's kind of a simple design, 3-inch blade. Wow, that one's pretty gross, but whatever. You get what you get. So I kind of had this idea of designing a pocket knife for a while, and I basically went to We and I was like, hey, would you be interested in making a design of mine? And they were like, yes, please. And I had to kind of wait a minute because there's some logistical things that needed to happen. And basically, once I put pencil to paper, it was like about a month process as far as I sent them line drawings from Illustrator, Adobe Illustrator. They did a 2D line drawing in CAD. They did a 3D model in CAD. And then we kind of back and forth on a few things. But honestly, like it was crazy smooth. I think part of that is like I sort of had these basic ideas that I wanted to happen. And it's not a complicated knife. It's a super simple knife. I brought a bunch of knives tonight. Let me see if I can find a complicated one from them. I mean, where's that Pleroma? There it is.
Oh my God.
You're gonna grab an Eichen design, no doubt.
Yeah, so like the Pleroma is just like this really crazy, beautiful We knife, and I love it. I think it's an incredible design. It's an incredible work of art as far as manufacturing. But the Banter is like the antithesis of this. And it's just like stupid simple. And so I think when you've got to figure out how do you get all these pieces of titanium and carbon fiber to all work together, like this is a real like trophy piece. This is like a Toyota Corolla in like the best way possible. Like it just gets you there. And so I think even in the design process, it was really easy to work with them, and they just kind of made it magical.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's the one thing that I think lots of people appreciate, at least from the consumer's point of view. It's like I like my complicated stuff. That's cool. But then when you have a piece that is just simple, there's naturally less things that can go wrong with it, like in the long run. So if you have something that's just, a G10 liner lock, they're easy to maintain, easy to take apart if you need to, and There is not too big of a deal concerning that. So really low maintenance, we can call it, which is something that I really appreciate because I get really nervous taking apart my knives. I've had bad experiences before, and I pretty much suck at it. So.
Well, and like I would feel, and not to say I wouldn't feel bad if I lost $100 knife, but if I were to lose a $200 plus knife made out of titanium and carbon fiber, I would probably cry sad tears of sadness, you know, just because it's like, dang, that was a lot of money down the drain. But I'm kind of utilitarian, I'm chill, and this knife is kind of a reflection of simplicity for me. So.
Awesome. I was kind of wondering regarding the design. I know it's obviously on your shop mat as well as your posters. Is the versions that we see on the shop mat and the poster, were they part of the design process, or was that something you came up with prior to approaching Wii and just kind of gave them to work from?
Good question. So I've kind of had this idea of not just creating a knife, but kind of creating adjacent products to it. So on my original poster, my white one, the knife I put in the middle, I was actually planning on having that made into a knife at some point. I don't love it at this point, so I don't know that I'll ever get there. The knife design just kind of feels a little clunky to me. But when I designed the shop mat, when I designed the poster, I always had in mind, I'm basically going to sell the people the marketing for the Banter. Which sounds perfect. Sounds kind of devious, right? But the reality is, like, I saw these trends of people being interested in having a piece of a knife that they enjoyed that wasn't necessarily the knife itself, whether it was a t-shirt or a shop mat or a poster. I just thought, well, shoot, I can release this knife design in paper and mousepad form first. And then when the knife comes out, people have been staring at it on their wall for a year, and they'll buy the knife. And so far, so good.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I guess that's a little bit of the BladeHQ experience there between the Chris Reeve shop mats and the Benchmade shop mats coming through. You're like, this is genius. This is the way to do it.
Well, we did. You may not have seen them all, but we did shop mats for. We didn't do the Chris Reeve ones. They
Okay.
did those on their own, but we did Benchmade ones. We did Spyderco ones. We did just about anybody who would give us a time of day to do a shop mat. We did it for them, but you could never buy them. And so when I left BladeHQ, I'm like, that's easy. We'll just make a shop mat. So
that's perfect. And that's what I use in the background of all the videos that I film when I ordered from you a little while back. And it's been fantastic. It's a great product. And
nice.
I have the background there.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's cool.
So you said the Banter was like your first knife. So is there anything else in the works that we don't know about that we should be excited? Your smile, yes.
I told you I'd have to tell you. Yeah, I've submitted another knife design to Wii already. And I just got 2D line drawings on that last week. So hopefully it's cool. I don't know. It's like you're throwing stuff against the wall and you just like hope it sticks, you know? And I think with the Banter, like, yeah, people have been excited about it, but I don't know. Does lightning strike twice? You never know until you like hold a golf club on top of a mountain, you know?
Like, well, and people love you enough. I think like you're well known in the community. I think it's, you know, it's gonna be the same thing with the Banter. It's what I think, that it's gonna sell, like, no matter what the design is like. I think your designs are, you know, you represented everything that you had said before in the Banter to me. Like simple knives, small, light, all of that. And so I felt like, yeah, that looks like Ben. So, yeah, I think that anything you put out should be successful because, you know, I mean, you were the face that got me into the hobby. I know, so.
Nice. I've heard that a little bit, and I don't know, it's kind of cool. It's one of those things that you're like, somebody asked me the other day, like, did you set out to be like a character or personality in the industry? And I was like, no, not at all. I just, like, it was a job. Like, I just had a job to do and somebody had to do it, and I could do it. So here we go. But it's really, I don't know, it's kind of humbling to hear people be like, "You're the first place I saw when I got into knives." I'm like, "Ooh, sorry to send you such an ugly figure to get you into it."
Well, I think Eddie hit the nail on the head with that one. That you've built up enough of a following and recognition, through the What Is Up guys, just the comedy that you brought to the BladeHQ videos, and just insight in general on knives, having worked at CRKT and BladeHQ. Everyone knows that you have a plethora of knowledge when it comes to different knives. So I don't think it's any surprise that people are excited to see designs come from you, more
Sure.
than just the banner.
Yeah, and hopefully I can design stuff that is both true to kind of what I'm trying to accomplish. It's funny because I've kind of sat back and I've thought a little bit, and I thought, this is the knife I enjoy. Like, how do you keep designing after you already enjoy something? But when I start thinking about it, it's like there's so many different kind of caveats and loopholes, and there's laws, and there's handle materials, and there's different size hands. And so this latest design that I'm working on, I've been taking it to family parties, and I'm like, here, hold this. Like, just like looking at where people's hands go and kind of the jimping and all of the different locations. And I don't really think of myself as a knife designer per se. I think of myself as like this like weird creator, and it just so happens that right now I'm designing a couple knives to play with, so it's fun.
Gotcha. Yeah, you're a product creator right now, not a designer, I guess, in your eyes. Kind of what you're
I'm like a hot mess maker. Like, I just like I don't know. I'm designing knives over here. I'm doing like some poster stuff over here. I'm doing shop mats. I've got 2 or 3 other product designs that are related to knives, but not knife products. So I'm having a lot of fun doing whatever the heck I want within the knife industry. Yeah, building. Yeah, and it's totally liberating too, because it's like I spent so much time. I've spent 9 years selling other people's stuff, and it's really cool to kind of step back from other people's stuff and be like, hey, this is mine. Like, this is my weird brainchild, and you might hate it or you might love it, but hey, it's mine. So that to me is really fun.
Awesome.
Yeah. So before you got into designing your own stuff, which designers were the ones that spoke like the most to you?
Yeah, I've had a couple people ask that recently. So for me, there are a couple like design philosophies that people have told me over the last few years. It was kind of interesting. I was one day having a conversation with Lucas Burnley, and we were actually talking about Kit Carson's work. So Kit Carson designed the CRKT M16, which basically was the knife that put CRKT on the map. And Lucas was like, the M16 is only, the thing about the handle is it's basically just a steak knife handle. And I was like, no. And I pulled up a steak knife and put it next to an M16. I was like, yes, it's true. Which to me is kind of crazy. And so I think Lucas Burnley has really influenced like my way of thinking about design. I had some great conversations with Ken Onion over the years. I've had some wonderful conversations with Jesper Voxnes. I think he's an incredible designer. I love Brad Zinker's work. I think he does just really, really, really clean stuff. Those are kind of some folks that I think, man, they do really clean design. Trying to think who else at the moment, but honestly, like, I guess even like the hardcore knife designers, I guess I more look at them as friends and mentors rather than like these. I don't know. I don't put anybody on a pedestal. Everybody's just human.
Okay.
They're just really good people. So
it's a good outlook to have. I mean, no matter where you are in life, I think that's a good way to look at things, especially getting into the hobby yourself of coming up with designs. That it's important to know that you're just you're on the same level that they are. You're not trying to reach. You're at that level.
well, and I don't even feel I feel like I kind of snuck in the back door of the Academy Awards or something, and I'm like, hey guys, But to me, it's like I don't want to say anybody can design a knife. I think for me, it's been this process of just like watching. I mean, I just watched these dashboards of data for years and years. And so understanding, why is this knife selling? What makes it good? Like you look at Sal and Eric Glesser's designs for Spyderco. Why do they sell? And why do some sell better than others? Why does a Benchmade 940 sell better than a Barrage? You know, so you look at all of these different factors, and I think there's a marketing element to it, but it's easy to sell a product that is well designed and well made. So I don't know. I think I don't put myself on the level of anybody. I just kind of look at, like, these are friends, and there's something to learn from everybody.
All right, so continuing with kind of questions. Gosh, so are you you're going hardcore with your new company, Knafs.com? Like is that all you're doing now, or?
No, I have a real job. Like I have a 9 to 5 that I work every day. Knafs it's a pure side hustle. It's just like grit your teeth and make stuff. So my wife and I run Knafs together. We have basically 3 products, two posters, 1 mouse pad. We have a couple of stickers, and then we're working on 2 or 3 new products. One I want to launch on Kickstarter, one I'll probably just launch through the site. You'd be amazed though, especially when you're doing it part-time, like just how much time just to make a widget takes. It's just like this insane amount of time. You're like, okay, I want this, and you draw it up and you send out requests for manufacturers, and this guy comes back at $40, and you're like, that's not going to work. And this person comes back at 20, and you're like, okay, that'll work. And then you got to work with them and make the product right, and you prototype over and over. And so I always knew that process was part of it. I'd done a lot of that previously, but when you're doing it part-time and you're like, ah, shoot, I have like 20 minutes to get this done, you're like, it just takes a long time. So going hardcore with Knafs, yes, but also everything I'm doing in the knife industry now is a side hustle, which is really fun because I can do whatever the heck I want. And it's kind of like low consequences. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, do something else.
Yeah, you're your own boss in that side of things. Yeah, I agree with you. I have my 8-hour-a-day job, and I started my own company just a little while ago, like a couple of months ago. And I'm also kind of doing it part-time, kind of on the side until we grow more. I would love it if it worked out so I could just leave my day job, but it's complicated, man. Like there is a lot more to it than you ever think there is. But
insurance, benefits, all of those different things. Like you kind of have to make probably 20% more than you do at your regular job to be able to cover the 401k benefits, the insurance, all those different things that kind of come with a traditional corporate America job. So
yeah, but
not a bad thing.
Hopefully, I think all of small business, the goal to grow and be able to leave whatever you're actually doing full time, focus on it. But
sure.
Yeah, definitely. Joe, I don't know if you want to speak anymore on the products that you mentioned that are coming, but this might spark your memory a little bit about a conversation we had a little while back about potential bugs. That might jog your memory to a while ago. It was the DM.
What?
Back and forth talking about NAFSCO mugs.
I want to make some mugs, man. I remember that conversation. So kind of what I'm working on right now, like I'm trying to not make as much swag. So like I've made t-shirts and I've made like stickers and things like that. I actually want to like create knife adjacent products. So I think a mug is in the future at some point, right? Like I want to make one of the like those enamel mugs that are super cool. But kind of my thought process is I need more like actual products versus like swag items, right? And so I've kind of been working on. I'm not going to share them here yet. I gotta kind of let them. I gotta let them boil. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry.
We understand. It's
You don't
important
want
for
to make any promises.
your reveal on your own.
Well, and like, what if it crashes and burns and never makes it to market? And somebody's like, "I saw that video," and I'm like, "I'm sorry."
Yeah,
But
totally understood.
but I'm looking at a couple of different products. Again, like the Knafs brand for me is not about making knives. That's what Banter's. That's kind of this design side that I can do things for other people. Knafs to me is like my own products, kind of ground up, build them, source them, all of that. Versus Banter's and designing is more design something for someone else that they sort of handle. I throw a drawing, a sketch to somebody, and then they kind of end-to-end handle it. So that's kind of how my thought process go. But Knafs is just like my own sweet hot mess to like make mistakes and get messy. So it's fun.
Awesome. I'm glad it's something that you can just kind of relax with and really enjoy the process of instead of stressing over. I think it makes a big difference in the attitude towards it all.
Yeah, it's fun. I think everybody should have an outlet to create. And I think for me, Knafs is kind of that outlet to build and make things. So it's really good.
Yeah. I was, that actually answers my question, because I had a question for you, and it was, I was wondering if you ever plan into becoming some sort of a dealer for companies and things like that. And I guess based on what you've said, the answer to that would be no.
No, I've kind of played the dealer game already. Like, I was actually thinking about that the other day because I'm like, this whole Knafs thing would be a lot easier if I was just selling other people's products, right? Like, I have contacts, I could literally like spin it up as a competitor to BladeHQ or whatever. But the reality is, like, I like making and I like selling, but I want to be creating. And when you're selling somebody else's stuff, you're just selling, which is totally necessary in the process. But for me, I want to be creating first and then selling. And so for me, I don't want to be a knife dealer. Like, I want to be a creator within the space. So it kind of, I think, not to say that being a dealer of knives is easy. It's definitely not. But it is a lot easier in the sense that you don't have to be creating product. You're just selling product. So.
Gotcha. Touching a little bit on knife dealers, something you mentioned just a few minutes ago was exploring different handle materials and different options when you were speaking about your new design. Is there ever going to be any plans to see an exclusive Banter to any knife dealers? Okay. All right.
So here's my take. Like, if it's a design that people are interested in, they start to pick up and it does well for them, I would hope that some dealers pick it up and do an exclusive run on it. I'm not going to steal anybody's thunder in that realm. I just think I've heard a few rumblings of a few people that want to do things. I don't have any dates or times or anything confirmed, but my hope is that they actually go through with it and it turns into a really cool thing, because I think those exclusive runs are really, really fun. So I've kind of pitched a few ideas to I've kind of laid out like a roadmap of like what I would love to see as far as colors, handle materials, things like that. But the reality is, like, and this is kind of where the sales side comes in, like the creation part of it is done. Does it have enough legs to keep going? Like, you don't get a new model of vehicle if the model is crummy and nobody buys it, right? Like, it gets discontinued, it gets moved out of the line. And so if the Banter does well enough, they'll continue to make it, but then they'll start adding different colors and things, hopefully, to the line. But it's one of those like wait and see. I wouldn't even know what to tell you. So
awesome. I think that's a great answer. I think a lot of people are going to be happy to hear that, because from what I've seen, it's kind of hit the ground running, like you said, and I think it's going to continue to be on that pace. Even with, I know you poked a little bit of fun at Nick Shabazz, calling it perfectly vanilla. But, from what I've heard, get to have the chance to handle one. It's the everyman's knife, and I think Pete from Cedric and 8 Outdoors said something along the same lines about it, and I think that really speaks to so many people. And knowing that you might have the potential to get that in a configuration that really speaks to you even more, I think will really excite people and will get them more ready to jump on those.
Sure, and that's my thing. So everything I'm creating right now is they call it MVP, minimum viable product. So what is like the smallest, the cheapest, the most quick to go to market product you can create and get out there? And so I felt like the Banter was the synthesis of all of those pieces to get something out there and see if it flies. Well, now it's like, okay, it's flying a little bit. So what can we add to it? What can we do to make it better? Nick Shabazz called it a tall glass of vanilla. And that just warms my because the reality is you can turn vanilla ice cream into whatever you want it to be. You can add sprinkles, you can add caramel, you can pour chocolate in it, turn it into chocolate ice cream. You can make it whatever the heck you want. And I love the fact that like this is a platform that you can build on. It's sort of the Tacoma of knives, and you can start to add things to it, which is really fun.
Well said.
I have a knife right here that kind of reminds me of your legacy, if we could call it that. But I have this right here, and I'm sure you know what this is.
Yeah, the Iona. I love that thing. That's great.
Yeah, blue handles in it. Yeah, I think it has everything that you would like on a knife, as far as what I've seen. And it passes your finger test. It's blue. It's been blue. And
I love it.
Is my perspective that you prefer a thumb stud instead of a flipper?
I do. Yeah. I prefer thumb studs except when it's got a flipper like this. Like that. Have you seen this one? It's a really nice one.
Yeah.
The majestic lady of the sea.
I'm just teasing. Yeah, I do prefer thumb studs over flippers, unless they're on the Boca Mermaid, and then I definitely
flipper.
Right. They have to have. But yeah, I think
I love the Iona. I love what Jesper and Jens are doing with Giant Mouse. It's really, really fun to see. Their business partner, Jim Worth, lives here in the United States. And Jim is really, really fascinating because he kind of made his money in tech in the San Francisco Bay Area. And then he just like loves EDC stuff. And so Giant Mouse has kind of been this project for him to just like work with these like world-class designers, like the best in the biz, to make these really, really cool designs made in Italy, just like really solid construction. I love the Giant Mouse stuff. I think it's really, really fantastic. And it's fun to see that trio working together on their own stuff.
Yeah, they do amazing stuff for sure. I have this this is the Nimbus, and this has more of a Jesper Voxnaes into it. This I could call this a little bit more of Anso. This is you can see the Voxnaes face on this one for sure.
Do you know what makes me laugh? So Jesper, he always comes out every year, and this year probably an exception with COVID, but he comes out every year to do like these planning sessions with Jim Worth, and they'll sit down and brainstorm and sort of work on things. But if he doesn't come out, the government of Denmark will like take his money, and so he has to like spend his money and get like these tax rebates to avoid the government spending his money for him. So he's like, we'll go to your place. So he always comes out to either San Francisco. A lot of times they meet up here in Utah and do these planning sessions, but kind of makes me laugh. So
that's funny.
He's a good guy.
I didn't know
that's a really neat little thing. I guess it's not neat, but you know, it's a
thing.
Yeah, it's a thing. I don't know if he finds it neat, but if he gets a trip into the States,
yep,
I'm sure it's nice for him.
Yep.
I have a knife here that I want to show that I believe you have. I'm pretty sure you have one of these, but it is the TRM Atom, and it's something that normally doesn't fit the bill for you. Thumb studs, yes. Phosphor bronze, yes. But 3.5-inch blade and a titanium pocket clip too, opposed to like a wire clip or a regular deep carry clip. I know it does have deep carry, but a little different.
Dude, have you put the little O-rings on the thumb stud? Have you seen that? I don't know if you.
I did have some from TRM. It's nice to have it on the thumb studs. There's a guy in the Facebook group too who has a bunch of different colored O-rings, and he makes them in different sizes for the Neutron as well.
Yeah.
I've really neat colors in the past.
Okay, real talk. How do you like the knife? How do you like the Atom?
All right, so to put it in comparison, I have the Atom here. This is like the 4th or 5th set of scales I've had on this knife. So there's hint number 1. And number 2 is I just got this in on Saturday, which is a Trevor Berger custom. It's a EXK SFL. So this is a custom knife, and I would still take the Atom over it.
Wow.
And the Atom's a little bigger than what I normally prefer too. The custom's a little under 3 inches at 2.75, and I prefer like a 3-inch blade, but the Atom still finds its way in the pocket more.
That's cool. That's way cool.
Yeah,
I like the Atom a lot. I need to take some sandpaper to the scale. It's just a little bit rough, and it's just a little big for my personal taste. Not a bad thing. But I love the design in terms of cleanliness. It's just like a super, super clean design. But I do need to, there's a couple, they're not hot spots, but they're just a little rough around the edges on the G10.
Yeah, their flat G10 tends to be really grippy and a little bit rough. The 3D wing scales that they make were life-changing for me.
Nice.
I bought an Atom initially with my Carta scales, and sold it like 2 weeks later because I didn't like the way it fit my hand, and eventually picked up the one I have now on the secondary market, and it had 3D wing carbon fiber scales, and it just changed the knife completely for me because now there's no square edges really. It just melts into your hand, and now they have your bend blue in the 3D wing as well. I don't know if it's available at the moment, but I do know they have it now. So
I have Marianne's cell phone number. I think I could probably arrange that if I needed it.
You could probably get a set, yeah. And Marianne's super easy to reach through email. They have been nothing but excellent for any kind of customer service, and their Facebook group is fantastic. So
Totally.
I think you can definitely get it arranged. Give it a shot.
Yeah, I like them a lot. I think they're as far as what they make. They make it.
Yeah. They do everything very well, and they dedicate themselves to the design, making sure it's done right, and then bringing options to the market as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Good one. Good find.
So Ben, you should have put in your pocket. In your pocket now.
So
What's in
today? Sorry, we kind of get all jumbled there. So Eddie was just saying we kind of saw what was in your pocket already, which you pulled out the banner. It looked like you're carrying today. And Eddie asked what I was carrying. So I had my Benchmade bug out today. This is just a 535 GRY-1, I think is the proper name for that one. Didn't have to do much with it today. Opened a couple boxes. Normally I have a set of aim front aluminum scales on there, and they're out on loan right now to Zach from Zach Stuff. So he's checking those out. But yeah, I had to bug out today.
Can we just shout out to Zach from Zach Stuff? He's amazing. He's the man.
An awesome person.
Yeah.
So kind.
Yeah, so nice. Yes. Yeah. So me, I just carried this today. This is Kaiser, but this is not under production anymore. This was a 2017 model. I don't know if you can see it well enough. It's just a very thin titanium frame lock with G10 inlays, which was weird to me because inlays in titanium, I never seen G10 before. I have, but like very little. But yeah, this knife was under production. I was not into knives then. But yeah, I kind of enjoy it, but I wish the action was just a little bit better. But we've come a long ways since then. Ben, you've been in the industry. I'm sorry, this is Kaiser. Kaiser, you've been in the industry for long enough. When do you think that Kaiser had that explosion and they became like as popular as they are now?
They kind of had a couple like really good winners all at the same time. They had the Lundquist, gosh, I can see it, the Feist. They had the Feist, the Sheepdog, and several other designs that really just like kind of resonated with people, the Beglider. And so I think those are kind of some of the ones that really put them on the map. They got great reviews. People were just really, really excited about them. And I think actually, I think Kaiser was kind of a front runner in this in terms of taking a Chinese knife, really making it good, making it quality. They basically took the CRKT model of taking a good designer's knife, and they took it to China in a way that was really, really well made. Whereas CRKT was taking these designers and taking their knives and making them inexpensive for the masses, Kaiser was like, let's take out all the middlemen, all the trading agents, all of the factories. We are the factory. And they were able to make them at a price with really good materials and at a price that was pretty fantastic. So I think they were a pretty good front runner in that space of Chinese companies making Chinese knives that were high quality versus Chinese companies making Chinese knives for American companies. So I see what Kershaw or what Kaiser did as kind of popularized that model. And around the same time, we started making like these really high-end ones up here. And eventually we came out with Civivi, and that kind of competes with Kaiser. Kaiser kind of moved up a little bit as far as they had their different lines, their Vanguard line down here, and then their I forget what the name of their more expensive one is. But between those, I think those two were kind of the front runner, and then you had Riati and all of these other different companies. Best Tech makes a good knife. Artisan Cutlery is making a good knife. There's just been a lot of really smart business people come in and make cool things. So I think Kaiser was kind of on the forefront of that.
Yeah, one of the things that Nick Shabazz said, that basically those companies are showing that quality is something like it's about effort rather than geography, which I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah. Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
It's definitely a good way to phrase it, because you've seen Chinese-made knives have a bad reputation in the past, and you're still associated with your gas station knives, but you have the companies like Kaiser, Riot, all knocking stuff out of the park. And whether it's their budget stuff or their high-end stuff, people can't say enough good things about either end of their lines.
Yeah, and I think there was a mentality shift in there where, like, in talking to they realized, like, we want to make good products. Like, they'd done OEM manufacturing for a lot of different companies for a lot of different years. They'd done it for like 10 years, and all these companies, these American companies, are going to them and saying, hey, we want a cheap knife, we want a cheap price. And we's like, but if you did this, it would be that much better. And finally they were just like, whatever, forget that, like, we're going to make our own stuff. And that to me is really, really cool. Kind of this idea that you can sort of create your own destiny and make things the way you want it. So
that's awesome. Like, they had the means to do it, so they took the initiative and they took off running, and see where it's gotten them now. And definitely was worth it. Definitely was worth it for them.
Totally. Let me ask you guys a question. When you're buying a knife, what are you looking for?
Eddie, do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
I can go first. So if I was living somewhere else, if I was in another state or another country right now, I will probably focus a lot on what I can actually carry, because I hate just getting a knife and not carrying it. So legality is a huge thing, but because I live in Idaho, it doesn't matter. Same for you, Ben. Is Utah, you have no problems. But I think when I started on the when I started into this, I just focused about price point, price point, price point, price point. I wanted it to be good, like a good bang for my buck. And now I don't care for it that much. I think I focus a lot more on where the knife comes from, companies that I support a lot. For example, I love one of the reasons I like Giant Mouse so much is because if you ever buy uh, a knife from them from the GM line, they part of that money goes to Save the Children, and that just is a huge that speaks. I mean, like speaks to me a lot, and so I like them as a company for that reason. I like, I buy designers that I like. Not so much. I kind of stepping away so much from. Oh, this is like I have a bunch of Kaisers because they were a good bang for my buck. But now I'm kind of stepping away from that. I'm buying people that I respect and companies that just respond well to the market. If I'm gonna buy a company that has bad reputation on warranty claims and things like that, I'm not even gonna bother, because I don't want to have to worry about those things, which is things that you learn with time. But yeah, I look at the companies, look at the things they do. I look at donations that they have made, and things like that. I like to see how much they give, and that's kind of what's driving me the most right now into buying a knife. I have to like the knife, and I have to like the design, all of that, but I also have to find somewhat joy from buying from that company.
That's cool. That's really cool.
That was a great answer. It's hard to follow that one up, but
I know. I'm like I think it's really cool.
the
really
design
cool.
is nice.
Yeah.
It's got super steel. Like, what are you gonna say? But I think when I first started out, it was definitely about price. Like, I know I owned like the Tac Force knives at one point. The $10 you got them on Amazon. And I started off with a Victorinox I bought myself. I still have it. It's a Cadet, and I think as I've gone up, it went from price to materials. Suddenly, I was looking for high-end materials at the best bang for my buck. Like Eddie was saying, like, okay, this company is releasing, good knives, but they have S30V, and S30V is a really good steel. And moving past that, just recently, I'd say in the last year or so, over the last 2 years, I've seen my collection jump up to 1,000 different parts. Where I tried knives based on design and popularity, and kind of followed the crowd for a little bit when it came to knives. And at this point, I think what I really look for is design is a big part of it. I mean, you have to like the way the knife looks, but I'm not afraid to break the norm and try something out. I'm always willing to give a company a shot that I've never tried before, which is something I like to do. I like to try and experience a new product if I can, and especially with companies that I know and I've experienced and that I support them as individuals or as companies with an overall goal, like Eddie was saying, with donating to certain causes or supporting certain things. I like to kind of follow along with those companies and those individuals in some cases when it comes to designs and support them the best that I can. In my most recent pickups, one of my most recent knives was a Pena front flipper swayback. The Trapper caught my eye. It kind of took everyone by storm, and they've gone on ever since. But in the meantime, I got to know a little bit more about Enrique's designs and his customs and things like that, and I realized that there was more to it than just it looking nice. This is a guy who will back his products, even when they're handmade, and he's getting these production knives made. He'll still take the time to go and fix something that's wrong and guarantee that his products that he makes. So things like that, like Eddie was saying, like customer service is a huge thing, and I'm always willing to support a company that will stand behind their products.
That's cool. That's way cool.
Now, for most of the knives that you have come to you. You didn't, as I understand.
They just come. Yeah. You know what? I've actually bought more. I bought more knives in the past year than I have probably in all the years combined. Just,
Really?
yeah. I mean, what have I bought? I bought the Spyderco Chaparral. I bought the TRM, the Atom. I bought, oh,
You have one of my the Pleroma. I love that thing. One day I'll get it.
nice,
Because yeah,
nice.
it's on the plans. But I have a newborn. Like, well, not so much newborn now, but man, I focus on him too much to just put money out. So I taken
You know, I don't think that's a bad thing, Eddie. I think that any hobby should be tempered. You know, I mean, I think there are a lot of people that buy knives. Like if you're buying a pocket knife on credit, like you might have a problem. Like, not that I'm going to be anybody's financial advisor, right? But I think that knife collecting for me is, and I collect on stories, but if it turns into an obsession, you're probably not doing it right, you know? So if you're in debt to buy a pocket knife when you already have one, you might need to like revamp your finances, right? So I don't think that's a bad thing. And I think that there's something noble about wanting a thing that you can't have and working toward it in order to be able to have it. So I don't think that's bad. I'm a terrible knife salesman. I should be like, yeah, just buy it.
But you don't sell them anymore, so it doesn't matter, right?
Well, I kind of do. If you're going to buy one, you should buy this one right here.
Hey, that's for S35 VN. It's a good deal. I was gonna ask you about that actually, because everything that we have put out at that price point was always on D2. And so, how did you manage to get that upgrade and get that same price point?
Wheat's amazing. Yeah, I don't like all of the logistics of like material costs and things like that. I don't have a lot of insight into that. Yeah, that's the beauty of it, is I just kind of like ship it off to them and they like, here, Ben, it's magic. And I'm like, cool, it's magic, you know? And it's a nice synthesis of core competencies in that I have this idea that I can't make real without somebody's help. But also they need marketing help to be able to make that idea sell. And so for me, it's actually a really good symbiotic relationship because I'm helping them with something that they probably couldn't do on their own. Not to say that they can't do their own marketing, but I can sell somebody this knife and help them understand why it's a good deal, why it's a good knife, in a way that maybe they can't. And they can make this knife in a way that I definitely can't. So it's a really nice symbiotic relationship in that regard. So.
Cool. Awesome. Did the Banter have the success you expected it to have? Like, were you expecting it to sell out within the same day? Like, was that something that you imagined would happen with your first design?
Yeah, I did, and I'll tell you why. And I don't say that to be prideful or like.
Oh,
this game is a numbers game. So the Banter was launched exclusively on BladeHQ. I knew that if they hit a certain threshold of interest with the knife, so their wish list, their email lists, all of that, if they hit a certain threshold and they ordered a certain number, eventually those two things are going to meet. So I'm just going to throw some numbers out. These are fake numbers. Let's say they have 10,000 people on their wish list and they've ordered 1,000. Chances are that knife is going to sell out pretty quickly when they send that email because they got 10,000 people interested and they bought 1,000 knives. Chances are it's gone. So I knew those numbers already. I knew how many they'd purchased and I knew how many people, about how many on their wish list. And I'm like, yeah, there's a pretty good chance this will sell through on the first day. If one or the other had been out of sync, so let's say they'd bought 10,000 knives and there's only 10,000 people on the list, you're going to end up with more knives than you are people. So did I think it would? I thought it would take about a day or two. So it took under 4 hours, which was really cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Was the choice to launch with BladeHQ due to obviously being there for such a long time and having that relationship with the company, or was it more so a numbers game, like you just kind of mentioned? Was that a kind of a benefit to working with them, or was that the main draw?
Good question. So I used to do these pitches at SHOT Show, where I would take a sheet of paper and I would just print out all of the audience stats for BladeHQ. And I'm not going to share what those are, but they were in the millions as far as like impressions, views, audience size, things like that. So here I am, I've spent 4 years almost looking at this data, compiling this data. I know exactly how many people are part of their audience. And it's like, of course, like this gets a knife off the ground in a way that I couldn't do on my own. So partnering with them gave me the opportunity to kind of tap into that audience in a way that I could have never done just launching it by myself.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I think it definitely was beneficial on both ends to launch with a company that you obviously were working with for a long time, that you were popularized, you were one of the faces of BladeHQ. And
Sure.
So many people of that audience that you said, you were just speaking about the numbers of, knew exactly who you were, knew what you liked in a knife, and kind of knew what they were getting, which I think really helped with the sales.
Yep. And I feel kind of bad that other dealers kind of got left out in the dark in the first round. But again, it's a numbers game in terms of eyeballs. Like everybody's fighting for these eyeballs, and whether you want to admit it or not, BladeHQ has the most eyeballs in the industry, and that was by design. We worked crazy hard to like scrape the eyeballs off from wherever we could get them in order to be able to sell things. And so it was really cool for me to be able to tap into that network of media. That it's a media network. Being able to tap into that media network and create something that was mine was really, really gratifying. That was a really cool thing for me.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm glad it worked out the way it did, and obviously it was a success. You said being under 4 hours, it's fantastic. Congratulations.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So we're gonna be very respectful of your time. Is there anything else that you want to share with us?
I don't know. This has been a fun conversation. I love talking about this stuff. There's such a fun business aspect to it for me that I really, really enjoy. There's a design, a creative, a community, a business, all of these little pieces wrapped into one. It's just really, really fun. Like I love doing stuff like this. I'm grateful for the opportunity you guys gave me to come on the show for a minute, because I don't know, I get a real kick out of it. So I appreciate the invitation. So I think that's about it, unless you guys have anything else you wanted to cover.
I don't think I have anything on my end. Eddie, do you have anything to ask?
Just thanks for being here. It's huge for us. About a little bit over 2 years ago, I bought a set of 3 Uncle Henrys for like $20, and I was super excited to talk about it. And I showed him to my father online, and I was like, "Hey, I got this," and he was like, "Oh, the steel on those suck." I was like, "What?" And I started looking up like knives with good steel, whatever, and I came across some of your guys' videos. I watched BladeHQ like for days, and I was like so impressed by it. So like, and it was back in the day, like back then, like having a Para 3 was like an unreachable goal, over $100 on a knife. What? But it's funny to see how things have turned out, and just grateful for you being here and for helping us understand a little bit of the background, because we see the product, we don't see what's behind it, and it's cool to kind of your knowledge on that end.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having me, and I'm looking forward to the episode coming out, and I'll share it like crazy when it does.
Thank you so much, and thank you again for being here. Really neat conversation, like you said. This business side doesn't get talked about a lot, and definitely wasn't planned for the conversation to go this way, but I'm glad it did. It's something that, Eddie and I both like drawing knives, but that's nothing compared to, kind of how you stepped a little bit through the design process and the manufacturing process to get to where you are. And thank you so much again for giving us the time of day and for having this conversation with us.
You bet. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you guys for watching. And if you want to check on the description, we'll leave our Instagrams, including Ben's, of course, and we'll also leave his link to his website, knafs.com, so you can go check out his products. And bye.